Hey, how's it going, everybody? All right, another episode of Sit Down and Shut Up with Jesse. Today we got Tsurugi. I guess it's Tsurugi. I think they're a Cammy player. I'm not sure what rank they're at, but I think what they signed up they were like plat. So let me take a look here. Da-da-da-da. Let's see. I think they signed up recently. There you go. Currently plat 5. They struggle with random DIs, defense needs work. They've hit a wall, not a day where to start. So pretty common. Again, I think once you start to hit like platinum into diamond, it starts to become a little tough to kind of figure out where you need to go from there. So let's get them on and give them a chat with them a bit. Here, hold on one sec. Hey, Siri, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. So, so I was looking at the thing you posted for the. One sec here. Let me make sure to turn you up a little bit. I think I looked at the thing you posted in the thread, and it looked like you're saying you're struggling with like random DIs. Overall defense might need some work, and then you're kind of not really sure where to go from there, right?
Yeah, I even posted some replays too,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I actually do a lot of red DIs. I panicked a bit, I think, and I'm not sure where to go from there.
Gotcha. Okay. So what we'll do is I'll invite you to custom room. We're on a first to three. I'll kind of get a sense of like where you might be struggling or things you might be struggling with, or like where you're uncomfortable, or maybe where you are comfortable and stuff like that. And then we'll do a little replay review after. And then if there's any specific situations, we can do a little lab work, right? Hop a training room and recreate the situations. And if there's time at the end, we can run another first to three. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, sure, I'll give it a try.
Cool. All right, let me get you in the custom room here.
I've never done this before, so I'm not sure how this is going to work.
Oh, no worries, man. So it's pretty casual. Don't feel like you have to be super formal or anything, but basically just kind of get it. I'm just trying to get a sense of like, what you might be struggling with in particular, right? And then hopefully we'll be able to come up with something that'll help you improve or at least get over the hump that you're feeling right now. So let me find you in here. Did I spell that right? I don't think I did.
How's your day been so far?
Not too bad. I had to work, fortunately. Still have to
So did
do
I.
that stuff, but was able to step away a little bit. Hit some golf balls at the driving range. The only exercise I get these days, and then yeah, otherwise it wasn't too bad. So not too bad of a Friday, I guess.
Ah, nice.
Cool. So hopefully you got the invite to the custom room. Join when you're ready.
Ah, there you go. I see you.
All right, cool. So go ahead and queue up. And what we're going to do is I'm going to deafen in Discord while we're doing that. I tend to talk a lot during these, like as I'm kind of articulating what I'm seeing and thinking. So I don't want to influence anything you're doing. So I'm going to deafen in Discord while we're doing this. I may not rematch right away either. Like, there might be a little bit of time between matches and stuff. Don't worry, I'm still here. It's really just me kind of articulating or taking notes or whatever on what I want to talk about during the replay. So, all right. With nothing else, so we'll run the first three. We'll see how it goes. Good luck.
All right.
All right, so I haven't played Tsurugi. I think they're relatively new to Fight Rise, so we'll see where they're at. I think they're on the Cammy. I guess I saw the mutuals are on the Cammy Discord and then Newbie Fight Club, so they're looking for some games and stuff. So, you know, see what's going on here. Platinum 5 Cammy, right? Yep. Okay. Hooligan reset. Oh, there's the DI they're talking about. Okay, see how they do in the... Pretty relying on drive rush cancel, which is pretty typical. Okay, so I think where they're struggling right now is they're uncomfortable in neutral, and what they can do is drive rush cancel their crouch medium kick. So they're going to do that a lot, probably. We're going to see that a good amount. But like if I space them out like this, you see the seems a little uncomfortable, right? Yeah. So now that they're burned out, I think they don't know quite what to do. Oh. Okay, and that's pretty typical too, I think. So, the corner defense portion, I think, is not quite. I don't think they quite understand how they're supposed to deal with various mix-ups in the corner. And then in neutral, I think where the issue is that they're not quite comfortable with using buttons that aren't crouch medium kick. So. Yeah, see, burnout happens right there. That was nice. Okay. Okay. That was nice DI. Oh, that was nice DI. Okay, so again, like their neutral game right now is kind of centered around those two things. So if I turn on the offense here, okay, so I think that some of the defensive situations they're not quite aware of how to really defend against it, and I think that's really getting hit a lot. Okay. A lot of mash. Oh, it doesn't tech? Okay. That's pretty good DI. There's another one coming. So I think that's what they were talking about, right? When they have any sort of advantage, they're not quite sure how to continue pressure. And then it kind of causes them to run into that, what do I do next? And then you panic DI. So we can work on that. I think there's some things we can adjust in their overall kind of neutral game plan. But I think what's happening here too is that, they're in Platinum 5, right? So obviously opponents aren't going to be doing the same things that I'm doing to them on offense. So that might be why... Oh, that's not a parry. I can see throw looping. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so again, if I adjust to just wait for DI, right? My meter was kind of low there, so that's probably why it didn't quite work out for me, but... Oh, that's nice. Oh, Barry didn't come out. So they can run an offense, right? Like, clearly. I mean, like, again, like, Platinum offense is usually pretty strong, right? I'm clearly being passive and it's working, right? You can see that they're not able to really able to deal with it. But, if I do deal with it, right, if I'm able to stop their kind of offensive pressure by like whiff punishing or checking their stuff, right? Okay. So, again, I think their offense is actually pretty strong. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with what they're doing. The issue is that in neutral, there are some situations where they're maybe not necessarily ready. So let's bring them back on. All right, what do you think?
They were alright. I got a little bit too. I panicked a bit much there. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure. So what I was saying on stream was that I think where you're at right now, Platinum 5, right, getting into Diamond, I think your offense is actually pretty strong, right? You're able to run kind of Cammy's offensive flowchart pretty well, right, with the hooligan mixes and some of the other setups off of like spiral arrow knockdowns, and your corner pressure was actually pretty good. I think where you might be struggling right now is that if you run into somebody that's able to stop your drive rush cancels, right? So like when you do the crouching medium kick drive rush, I'm willing to bet more than half the time like that throw works, right? So you drive rush into like crouching heavy punch, and then you go into the throw, and then it works, right? Like 9 times out of 10 probably works. And then also with like dive kicks and stuff, my guess is that when you do those things, like you don't do them too often, right? So I think it's fine. But my guess is that when you run into someone who's kind of able to stop that stuff, it gets a little uncomfortable in neutral, right? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I've
Okay.
been trying to practice a bit more of the instant air dive kick, so that takes some getting used to as well.
Gotcha. All right. So what I'm gonna stream in Discord here, and then what we can do is take a look at 2 of those games, or 1 or 2 of the games, and we'll kind of talk about what happened and kind of why, right? So you have to remember, you have to also kind of put the lens around this is that I'm playing at a, obviously I'm playing at a master level, right? So what I'm doing to you right now is probably not what's happening to you in ranked, right? Like the challenges that's happening on your offense, some of the defensive decisions, as well as like kind of the pressure that I'm able to apply is probably not what you're seeing at Platinum, right? So, we'll try to keep that in mind as we go through this. But we can talk about individual decisions and some of the replay stuff to kind of hone in on where I think you might be able to make some adjustments, and hopefully that'll help. So let me grab a couple of replays here.
But yeah, I don't think I'd be able to remember all that because that's a lot. That's like information overload to me.
yeah, and it's gonna be. I mean, obviously I'm streaming it, so there's a VOD, there's YouTube videos gonna be posted after. So feel free to you can always go back to it or whatever. But I think let me take a look at. I think this is one, and probably this one. I think. All right. Let's take a look here. Oh, so you should be able to see it in Discord. Let me know that if you can or not, and go from there.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm watching it right now.
Cool. All right. Okay, so I think like for the most part, like that approach is fine, right? Kind of walking up and pressing a button here. It's a little close. You kind of want to be a little bit further away, but that's okay. All right, so what happened there, right? Why'd you get hit? Let's take a look. All right, backing up, right? So something that happens a lot in Platinum and Diamond is that players tend to back up after a block, right? So after you do something, like anything that you attempt, like on offense, and it gets blocked, like a lot of players will start to just kind of back up, right? They'll try to create space in between the characters, right? Because like your mine is here probably, right? You know that this is once you press that button, your block, it's like, oh my, it's -3. I can't do anything after that, right? So your instinct here is to back up, right? The issue with this, and I'm kind of honing on this situation because I think you're going to see it a lot, is that you're too close with this button to back up safely, right? So if you look at this scene here, right? So that lands, it's blocked, right? Ken's -3 here, so they know that they can press, right? Because if you try to press anything, it's obviously going to be a counter hit probably, right? Because, you're -3 here. So all I have to do is wait for your recovery and then press the button, right? Now, in this
Oh, okay,
situation
right.
here, right, typically, right, at least at a higher level, right, after this, like, the situation wouldn't show up because the spacing would be, like, that stand heavy kick might be a little better spaced, right? So if you space that to the tip of, like, Cammy's boot is, it's very difficult for Ken to get a punish there because you'll be out of range, right? So what happens here is I'm just pressing crouch and medium kick and buffering the driver's cancel and hoping you'll back up, right? Because at worst, you block this, and I get a mix up, right? I get to do a jab, a throw, or whatever else, right? If it's on block. But if it's on hit, what that tells me is that you don't want to be next to me after you press a button, right? Like, so if
Oh,
someone blocks what you're doing, right? That mean if someone blocks what you're doing, and you're gonna back up after, right? That's what this whole situation kind of comes into, right? So I'm willing to bet that right now in your games, when you press standing heavy kick like that, and the player here is -3, they don't press anything. They probably wait or not press anything that'll reach you, or they'll press something bigger like a stand heavy kick or a stand heavy punch or something else because they want to try to tag you with that, right?
yeah.
So like when you try to back up here, it's usually not getting punished this way, right? So like you try to back up, and then nothing happens, right? You're able to get out of safely move away from like what's happening, right? So what I'm going to say here is that for now, if that's continuing to work for you, that's totally fine. But I would say that it's probably a little bit better for you for two things, right? One is to space this a little bit better. So you probably don't want to press it right there because we both move forward, but you probably want to press it like here, right? So Cammy, when she spins and does the boot is going to reach like right here, right? If you see
All
my
right.
cursor, right? So it's something you just have to work on in the lab, right? Being able to kind of space things correctly, and this is going to take time, right? This isn't something I expect you to be able to get like right away, but this is something you'll have to work through. Is that for Cammy especially, a lot of her strength comes from the ability to control this space in between, right? And the way to do that is by pressing those bigger buttons that you were doing, right? The stand heavy kick and the stand medium kick, but they need to be spaced a little bit better, right? Because if you had pressed
All
it
right.
here, right, most likely I block it, right? But I'm out of range for the crouching medium kick to hit, or at least I may not be sure it's going to hit, right? So then you'd be able to kind of safely back up, right? So that's how, if you look at like high level camis, you look at like how Punk plays or whatever, like he's never going to throw a stand heavy kick like point blank, right? He usually, if he is going to press it, it's going to be further out, spaced out better, right? Where like the tip of the boot would be what touches, right? So anyway, that's something to keep in mind through the rest of the set. I just want to bring it up now because what can happen is that if you're not able to space correctly in the neutral game, you're just going to get run over as you climb up in ranks, right? Because you'll be spacing things a little bit poorly, and it's easier to punish things when that happens, right? So, like this situation here, right? This is normally a safe on block move, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you had stood here and blocked, right? Like, not backed up at all, you wouldn't have gotten hit, or at least you wouldn't have gotten tagged clean, right? Into a driver's cancel. But if you're again further away, it's a little harder to for me to press that button against you, and then you can continue taking up space, right? So anyway, we'll talk more about that stuff going further, but it was something to kind of prime the pump, so to speak, because you're talking about how you're quite not quite sure where to go from where you are, and I think this might be one of the things you might want to look into next, right? So continue through here, so you get hit. All right, so let's see how you defend this, right? So Ken goes for a setup here, right? And then you're blocking low, right? And you get
Yeah.
hit,
I
yeah.
see.
So this is just reaction, I think. Like, I'm sure you play a million Kens in ranked, right? And all of them
Oh,
use
yeah.
this setup, right? So it's just a matter of reacting to the overhead, right? Block low, then block high. He can't do both, right? So it's a little bit of a guess, but you can react to the overhead, right? Something you just have to lab out, right? You can take this replay, take replay, take over when you get hit here, and just go from there. It's not. This is just a matter of blocking correctly. That's not a big deal.
All right.
Okay. So you don't press here. That's good. All right. Tag me walking back. Good. Turret combo into the hooligan overhead, which I think I don't block here, right? All right, and then there's the DI, right? So I think what happens is the other thing that the other thing that happens is when your buttons get blocked, you go into DI, probably, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's where I usually panic.
Yeah. And again, it's not the end of the world if you do that, right? It's tough in this situation though, and the reason for that is because I'm not pressing anything that would allow you to DI me safely, right? So when you think about what DI does in neutral, it's usually a hard call out for a non-cancelable button or special move, right? So if like in this situation here, right, if I had thrown a fireball, right, or pressed a stand heavy kick or some other like non-cancelable move from Ken, then this DI goes off, right? Because it goes through the fireball, blows me up, right? Or if I do something else unsafe, or not unsafe, but non-cancelable, it'll blow that up, right? So I'm willing to bet that this works in your current games a lot, right? It actually worked a lot here, to be honest with you. But like my guess is here, like a Ken will probably press something like a stand medium kick or some other non-cancelable button, and then this DI will blow them up, right? Like they can't cancel, get a punish counter, right? So if you want to use DI in this fashion, I think that's totally fine. It's just that you need to be aware of like what the opponent is doing when you do it, right? Like DI can be very effective, right? If you're, especially in like these ranks where not everyone is necessarily ready for it all the time. But if you want to continue using that as you climb the ranks, the best way to do that is to kind of look for situations where the opponent does something that they can't cancel, right? So that's typically things like fireballs, or like that. I guess that's the most classic example, right? Is like a fireball, a Ken Jinrai kick potentially, right? There's like DI-able moves in the game that you can look up, right? So that's something you can lab through, and that's, I know that's kind of a lot, but if you want to continue using DI in this fashion, that would be how you would do it, right? So
Yeah, normally when I use DI, it's mostly like after a medium spiral arrow near the corner, because I've learned that. I think I saw in a video that after a medium spiral arrow, the DI is actually guaranteed in the corner at least, but not mid screen.
yeah, it's going to be meaty, right? So that means that the opponent has to counter DI you in that window where they're getting up, or parry if they have the meter, right? So, well, I guess if they have meter, they could do either. But yeah, if you do that, I believe it's a meaty DI, right? So, which is strong. Don't get me wrong. Like doing that is good, but some opponents will be able to react to that as you climb up, right? Or you can get reaction supered too, right? So it's a bit of a
And
risk on your
sometimes
part,
I do
but
it too late and I get a DI to the face, because
yeah,
normally like I have to really, after a medium spiral, I really have to spam the DI just for it to come out in time.
yeah. You have to make sure that it comes out like that frame, right? So okay, so like right here, I think. Ooh. Right, so counter DI happens. Right, so we're back to neutral here. And you don't tend to press a lot here, which is totally fine, I think. But I think where you're starting to, this is where you start getting uncomfortable, right? You're like, oh,
Yeah, I think around there.
my DI didn't happen. Like, what do I do next, right? Right, so throw goes off. And then now you're burned out, right? So something to be aware of, I guess, and this is going to become pretty important, I think, is you really don't want to burn out, right, in general. I mean, I know in Platinum and probably when you get into Diamond, you're not going to get punished as hard for being in burnout, right? Like, people aren't going to necessarily be able to kill you right away from that. But this is a situation you kind of want to avoid, right? I know this is kind of going to feel like a lot, but when you look at this situation right here, right? Like, you've already decided to drive rush cancel here, right? Like, you buffered it and all that. But I really want to emphasize that you have to be paying attention to this meter up here whenever you do that, right? So it doesn't have to be like constantly looking at the meter, but like if you're in this situation here.
Yeah, because my main issue I think is also I forgot how to hit confirm. It's been so long.
Okay, and we'll get to that too, and we can talk about some stuff to help with that. Well, with Cammy's crouching medium kick, you can't necessarily hit confirm that into a driver's cancel, meaning like, you know, driver's cancel, like confirm. Normally what you would do is you driver's cancel the crouching medium kick with a buffer, right? So you just press it, and then you confirm the hit while the screen flash is happening, right? And we can talk about like Cammy's more common hit confirms and go through that. But right here, after the DI goes off, right? Like, you're getting comboed right here, right? So this is kind of an opportune time for you to glance at the meter, right? Because you can't do anything while you're getting hit, right? You hold block, right? Or, you know, hold the buttons down so you can back roll, right? So you're just kind of waiting for that. Or you're mashing reversal potentially. But while you're getting hit right there, that's a good opportunity for you to take a look at this meter, right? So if you see, you know, brown or orange or whatever color you want to call this, right? If it's not green, right? Um, don't consider dry rush canceling at that point, right? Unless it's gonna kill, right? If you think you can kill me from that situation, burnout's totally worth doing or getting into, like, you know, to cash out. But in this situation here, it's very difficult to dry rush cancel because it'll burn you out, and you kind of, you know, you're closer to the corner than I am, right, from here. So, like here in this situation, right, what you can do instead of dry rush canceling here is you can use other Cammy's other buttons to kind of reestablish that you reestablish space control, right? Basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to stop the opponent from walking in to your walking into you to press buttons, if that makes sense, right?
All right.
Because what'll happen, I think, in the at this level, like from here, can I do some combo, right? But I'm willing to bet that the space that most people that you're at play at is not at this kind of uncomfortable range. They're probably playing closer to you to try to press more buttons, or further away to be more passive, right? They're not playing in this space, right? Like my
No, most
assumption
of
would
them
be,
are pretty gorilla on Gunbunga. They try to
yeah,
put it on.
they probably would have drive rushed into you, right? They would have forced some sort of mix up, or they would just walk up. They would be standing here and pressing buttons in your face, right? So what happens after this interaction here is that if I don't drive rush here, right, and I don't drive rush because I'm conserving meter and all that stuff, right, but I don't drive rush here. So what happens now is that there's no mix up that I'm forcing, so we're kind of resetting back to neutral, right? So what that means is that you want to try to keep me away from getting close to you, right? And the reason for that is because Cammy has really good buttons to do that, right? Like if you press the stand medium kick right here, it's going to tag me if I'm not blocking, or it'll force me to block, and then you get some space back, right? Because the pushback will happen, right? Stand heavy kick might be too close for this, but stand medium kick definitely, right? Will stuff anything I try to press probably, keep me out, right? And yeah, so like that situation, I think you may not run into yet. Like as you climb into diamond and stuff, it's probably going to become more apparent. But like you said, most people would probably drive rush you there, right? Like a Ken that knocks you down after that, they'll probably drive rush stand heavy punch, right? And we can talk about how to deal with that mix up after. But the reason I want to bring this up is because this is more likely a situation that you'll run into as you climb up, right? So I just want to keep that in mind. But yeah, we can talk about how to deal with like some of Ken's other mix-up tools that I think people in Platinum would probably be using in the lab after this. So just remind me if I don't remember. So you get burned out here, go for the throw, good, it's fine, throw's fine, and then I think what happens here is that you walk up throw and you whiff, right?
Yeah.
So I actually saw that happening as I pressed the button, but I actually wasn't reacting to the throw. So what I was actually doing was reacting to this right there, right? You continued walking forward, right? So if you look at that in real time, right? So
That makes sense.
yeah, so this is what I was talking about when you want to try to keep people out, right? Like as they walk up into your space, you can press a button that will tag them as they're coming forward because they can't block, right? If they're walking forward, they're not blocking, right? Typically, I mean, they can block right away, like a walk and block or whatever. But if they're walking forward, like you were walking forward right here, you're probably not going to be able to block, right? If I press a button, like you may not be able, like, because you can't react to 7 frames, right? That's too fast, right? Like not really possible. So you're walking forward, you're trying to go for a throw. And once you walked into the range of Ken's crouching medium kick, I pressed it, right? And you just happen to keep walking forward, and that's how you got tagged. Now, what actually happens is, like, right before you get into range, you press throw, right? So if you look right here, Ken, you're inside. Oh, man. See if you're killing me. If you looked in that situation, right, I'll bring it back up. But if you looked at where you were standing, right, as you were walking forward after you threw me, you got into Ken's crouching medium kick range, right? Now, me as the other defensive player in that situation said, I don't like that, so I'm going to press my crouching medium kick to stop you from walking up, right? So that's what happens there. And that's a situation I think you can take advantage of for a lot of these a lot of your games now, because I'm willing to bet that people aren't going to be as like paying attention to as much space, like paying attention to the space as well as I might be here, right? So let's see if this will let me
Yeah,
read.
normally I'm good at spacing with at least crouching medium kick and standing medium kick, but standing hard kick, I think that's where I struggle with the spacing.
Yeah, and it's tough because that button is like 10 frames or whatever, right? So or 12 frames or
And
whatever it
standing
is.
a heavy kick, I actually just overestimate that she actually does move a little bit forward too, so
Hmm.
that kind of closes the distance even a bit more.
Yeah, she like rotates, right? The boot will, she moves forward a little bit and then the boot comes out. So
Oh yeah.
but yeah, but yeah, that situation that I was showcasing there, where I kind of stop you from walking into my space. That's what I was talking about in the previous situation, right? When I tried to walk into your space, you didn't really press anything. But that's what I would expect people to do, right? Is that, and I'm willing to bet that what I just did to you there is gonna be able to beat a lot of things, because a lot of players here will just walk forward, right? They don't really care. They're just gonna walk forward and press their big button because they want to hit you, right? Or they'll walk forward, crouch, and medium kick you, right? And if they're walking forward into Cam's crouch community kick range, you can press yours, right, as they walk in, basically. So,
Yeah, I know majority of Kens I've run into, they always try to zone me out, so I usually just punch him with a spinning heavy knuckle, like majority of the time.
mhm. Yeah, I don't throw a lot of fireballs, right? Not against Cammy, right? Because you can spin knuckle me. But yeah, if you can predict the fireball, that's a good option as well, right? Predicting the fireball and using spin knuckle to do that. Um, it's a little tougher this season, I think, after they made the changes to that. But it's something you can do, right? So you burn out there. Wait, is this the right? I think I might be round one actually. Yeah. All right. So you throw me here. I don't tech. Right, and then again, as you're walking into Ken's space, I just press the button, right?
All right.
Yeah. So again, I'm not reacting to the throw, although that would be pretty godlike if I did. But in reality, what I'm reacting to is the space you're walking into, right?
Okay.
And again, I think like if you pay close attention to that, like closer attention to that rather, in your games, you'll start to see that a lot of players, like at this level, aren't going to be spacing as well as I am, right? They're going to walk into your crouching kick range, they don't care, right? So, like I was saying, so anyway, that's why you got hit there, right? Anyway, we can talk more about what you can do in that situation when you're burned out, but that's what was happening when you got hit, right? So again, it may not happen in the games you're playing now. Like if you like, I'd be willing to bet that you can walk into someone's space like that right now and grab them, which I think is what you were going for.
Well, the thing is, like, also in that level, a lot of people they burn themselves out so fast, so I just burn out and loop them.
Yeah, yeah. So both players kind of don't have meter, right? You're kind of both pressing buttons at each other and trying to push it into the corner. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean that's pretty common, I think, because what happens here at this level is that I think most players, again, can run a very competent offense, and Cammy in particular is actually kind of drive hungry, right? A lot of her bread and butter combos require you to do some sort of driver's cancel, right? So again, it's not necessarily a bad thing that you want to use drive. It's just that you have to be cognizant of how much you're spending and where you're at, right? So when you make decisions to drivers cancel, that you're not burning yourself out like that, right? Because I think like, and again, in that situation, it may not have mattered, you were burned out or whatever. But if you had drive at that point, you might have made a different decision instead of walking forward and trying to throw me, right? Maybe you go for another
Oh
crouch
yeah.
medium kick. Maybe you press a different button, right? So that's how that effect kind of happens, right? Oh, I'm in burnout now. I can't drivers cancel. What do I do? Right? Oh, let me just walk up throw, right? So, okay. All right. So that's fine. So that's
Yeah.
tough, right? Yeah, you got to be careful with that kind of situation, right? Because you use 3 bars here to get a throw, and then you do a raw drive rush into low, and you cancel drivers cancel, right? So this would normally be a four bar act, right? Into
I was
on button.
autopiloting at that point because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
I'm in the lab. I've been practicing so
Hmm.
much catching medium kick into drivers cancels.
Yeah, and I
It
think
just
that
became
that's
muscle
totally
memory.
fine. I think like if you're trying to land that stuff in game, I think that's totally fine. You just again have to be careful with the meter management, right? Because it's gonna start to matter a little more as you get into like diamond through diamond. It's gonna start to matter more, right? Because again, players at this level run very competent offenses. So if you're burned out against someone like that, like if I'm burned out against you, it's very difficult for me to come back, right? Even at my
Uh,
level, right? Because Cammy has a lot of options. Your offense, the way you running your offense is good. Like it's good. So like if I don't do anything, I'll just get run over, right? So burning out is really bad in this game. So okay. All right. So now it's the same situation again, right? All right, hit me with a dive kick. Good. Walk up throw, and then I just react
yeah.
by crushing me a kick, right? So we could talk about how to kind of stop this from happening. Remind me if I don't talk about it. But you're in burnout here. So like as the Ken player or as the defensive player here, I'm not really afraid to press anything, right? I'll just press whenever you're not like when you're not pressing something if you're in range, because my buttons are going to be plus, right? Or at least not super negative anymore. So there's not a lot of risk for me to be pressing when you're walking into space, right? So,
All right.
all right. Get your meter back. Trying to fight your way to the corner. All right. And then you go for the reversal at the end here, right? So
That didn't work. That's good.
yeah, I mean, again, super common, right? This is a situation where it's like, well, if I don't reversal, I'm gonna die, right? Like, of course, right? You have to, or at least you should give it some serious thought, right? It's just that this is an obvious situation for the Cammy player or the defensive player to reversal, right? So a lot of times players will go for a shimmy here, right? So like you can see after I DP you here, really my inputs, I'm just backing up, right?
All right.
Because I'm expecting you to do either a tech or a delay tech or a shimmy, right? Delay tech or reversal. I'm shimmying. Delay tech or reversal, right? And this
All
would
right.
beat both of those options potentially, right? So that's why I just back up here. Again, it's very difficult to have kind of the moxie, if you will, to not press anything here. Like don't reversal, don't tech, or go for a low to call it the shimmy. And it's very difficult, right? So I don't blame you at all for going for this here. It's just that in this situation here, you're down you're down a round, right? You're about to die here to another throw potentially. You have some meter to use, right? You have like 3 bars here, almost 4. So this is like situation that screams to me, oh, they're gonna reversal, right? So this is something you'll
Yeah,
have
normally
to
I don't reversal at all though, so that was the first time I've actually done it honestly.
yeah, on through the whole says first time you did it, right? And again, it totally was dictated by like this information up here, right? So I was actually fully expecting you to reversal like super, wake up super, but you know, because it would have worked too, right? Or that would have been an option as well if you wanted to reversal there, right? Because you would have preserved some of your meter. If you caught me, it would have caught the same things that EXDP would have caught here, and you deal more damage, right? So you deal like pretty close to killing me here, right? I'd be like 1 throw away if that, right? Because 40, you'd be CA range, right? So consider that also when you're thinking about reversal options in this situation where you're about to die. If you really want a reversal, you might as well try to go for a super here, right? Because there's zero reason why you wouldn't, right? Because if you die in this round with the super, but then you don't have it anymore, right? If you use the super, get me close to death, and then able to actually win it, then you have round 3, right? You have a chance. So you may be down resources, but at least you have round 3, right? So
All right.
all right, cool. So I'm gonna do something a little bit different here, and I'm gonna grab one of the replays that you had posted. So I do want to compare.
Yeah, I think that's where I actually panicked the most too, because again, I haven't been playing since like last year, half somewhere around when Kuma came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm honestly a little rusty. I'm also like panicking as well. My bad habits from when I was in Plat 1 actually came back as well too.
Sure. All right. I think this is one of the ones you posted, right? From
I think that's one of the worst ones from
all right,
BLKO.
let's take a look at it. So we'll do a little live replay review. So I think like so it's interesting here because obviously since I'm playing at a little bit higher level, some of what I'm doing to you is not something you'll run into, right? So being able to counter what I'm doing won't potentially matter for the games that you're playing, right? Like no one's going to be spacing the way I'm spacing necessarily at the level, right? Like you may not run into someone running an offense the way I'm running it, right? So I'm interested to see. So we talked about some of the things you were running into, right? So like being a little uncomfortable in neutral, having some situations where you kind of autopilot a DI or autopilot a driver's cancel, right? So let's take a look at this situation or this replay here. And let's talk about some of the situations and decision making that went into what was going on here, and maybe we can come up with some alternatives on what you could be doing in those situations when you feel uncomfortable. So,
All right.
So this is Guile, so that sucks. That was pretty good though. Unfortunately, with the since you hit Guile's extended hurt box.
I got it a bit wrong there too.
Yeah, this is tough, right? Like that sucks, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's funny to me. Like that's so dumb that it happened. But I mean, there's a reason for that, right? It says you did the spin knuckle, interacted with Guile's extended hurt box, right? And then you whiff that.
The majority of the time when I do punish fireballs is usually like just barely enough range for a catching medium kick.
Yeah. It looked like you hit the tip of Guile's hands as he was coming out, so that's why that interacted that way. So it's unfortunate, but that's life, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, that was good. So here, right? So this is a situation where you took advantage of the thing that I was doing to you, right? So here, Guile wants to back up. He's kind of close. He can't really sonic boom you here. So he wants to back up here, right? Because if he throws a boom, it's going to get stuffed by you pressing a button, right? Because even though this lands, he's -6, right? So he's pretty minus after the Sobot, right? So if you had pressed that sooner, I mean, it didn't matter. He's backing up. Oh, actually, I take that back. He was trying to press. So let's see. Yeah, take it back. So he tried to press a big button after he was minus, right? So like, right? So you actually grab his back heavy punch button, right? So this is totally fine. Actually, this is perfect, right? So you're plus a lot, right? +6. You're not in range to punish with like one of any of Cammy's like 6-frame moves, right? So if you look at like from here, Sobot is hit, right? Here's where you have the +6. Cammy's 6-frame move is the crouching medium punch, right? Or stand heavy punch, one of those two. But you can't, it's not going to reach, right? Probably. The reason you actually reach here with this,
because he moved a little bit forward too when he does a back heavy punch.
Yeah, so the hurt box extended out a little bit, right? So when he did that, that landed, right? So this is totally fine. I think this is totally fine. Pressing and taking your turn back in these situations is correct, and I think you'll get away with it a lot here because players in like platinum and low diamond, well, this guy's actually diamond 5, but players here at these levels, they're not necessarily paying attention to how plus or minus they are. They're just going to press and then press again, right? So if you pay attention to your replays, and eventually you'll learn like which buttons from other characters, like especially the popular ones like Guile, Ken, and those guys, and Cammy, like which buttons you can kind of take your turn back against, right? You can press against, right? So this is a good example of that. So you drive rush cancel into a turret combo spiral. Okay, so you go into a hooligan mix here, right? And this hits. So I think this is fine if you want to continue with hooligan pressure like that. I think what will happen eventually is you run into players who will just DP you here. They'll wake up EXDP on reaction to the hooligan, right? So consider every once in a while. I mean, this is totally fine to do. Like if you want to do the high-low mix-up, right? Because you can cancel into a low, or you can do the throw, I guess. You do want to sometimes just take the guaranteed damage, right? So if you take the medium arrow from there, and you do 2 forward dashes, you're generally +2, right? There's a situation like a situation you can advantageous situation you can do. So this is totally fine because you're getting an extension, right? So that's totally cool. But consider every once in a while, or when you land the driver's cancel and you need more corner carry, consider just taking the medium arrow at that point from the turret combo, right? Every once in a while, because I think like the way Cammy wins the game, especially in this matchup, is by putting Guile in the corner so he can't really like do anything, right? Like if he wants to throw a boom, you'd be kind of in a space where you'd be able to stop him from doing, like you'd be able to stuff the sonic boom, right, or whiff punish any of the buttons he wants to press. But that's how you win this matchup, right? Is that you don't give Guile space to throw sonic booms, right? So,
All right.
so go for the DI there. I think that was a fine option. The issue was that you were too far, right?
Yeah, I was too far.
Yeah.
Actually, I underestimated how far I was from the
Yeah,
corner.
yeah.
So
So, and again, I think that's something you'll have to work through. But if the Guile is not reacting to your DI, then keep doing it, right? No big deal. Okay, get hit. What did you get hit? Oh, you were like moving forward. Oh, you're in the dash.
Yeah, I was dashing forward. And...
Yeah, okay. So the Guile just checks your dash, takes your dash here, and then that's it, huh? Okay. And there's
that's where I autopiloted.
Yeah.
That's where I autopiloted again.
Yeah. So there's the burning straight or whatever. So you look, if you look here, you're +4, right? Of course he cancels it, but so it cancels into the what you call the boom, so it's actually safe, I think, right? But here's where it ends up mattering, right? Okay, you take the overhead, right? Boom. So you're +3, so you can take, you can press a button here, right? The issue is that it's not going to be a guaranteed punish, right? So if you look at your drive meter situation, all that, you autopilot, like you said. So just be wary of this situation, right? Because if you're burned out against Guile, it's really going to be a bad time, right?
Yeah, I found that out the fun way.
Yeah, so you can press a different button here, right? It doesn't have to be crouching medium kick into drive rush. You can just as easily press like a stand medium kick or a stand heavy kick potentially, depending on how much risk you want to take. And the reason that is okay to do is because later on, like the amount of space that both characters kind of control is what actually ultimately ends up winning the game, right? So as you climb up, what you're going to notice probably is that, or what you're probably noticing this now, is that if you put someone in the corner, you're probably going to win, right? I'll bet you, like if we look at like 10 of your replays where you won outright, 9 out of 10 will probably be because you had them in the corner, right? You had cornered them and you continued pressing buttons against them or pressuring them, and they ended up losing, right? So when you do like in this situation here, if you look at the space, right, the corner is just past this line, right? The corner is pretty close here. So if you pressed the stand medium kick or the stand heavy kick and they block it, right, they won't be able to punish you, but there's going to be a little bit of pushback, right? So you actually gain some space there. So that's really what you're trying to do. Now, if you hit them, obviously that's great, right? Like, yeah, it's not cancelable necessarily, but it allows them to not continue pressing buttons for free, and you get some space, right? Because again, ultimately, even at this level, like you want to be putting them as close to the corner as possible, right? So, unfortunately, you burn out here. Go for a throw again, I'm guessing. No, we went for a jab. Okay, cool. It's different. Right? And then Guile just starts doing what Guile does, right? He's going to DI you to gain space back and then start throwing sonic booms, right? Or not. Oh, okay. He was baiting you into something, and then you didn't. Okay.
There were a few times I could have just DP'd right there too, but I also panicked right there. I think I got a bit too aggressive right there too.
Yeah, anti-airing is big. You need to be able to do it, for better or worse, right? Especially.
I get back from a very, very long hiatus, so I'm trying to remember, like, what did I do in this situation? How did I get over this?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, anti-airing obviously very important, right? When I was jumping at you, I was kind of testing to see how often you DI or DP me, and it wasn't too much, so something to work on, right? Something you just go in the lab, set up the training dummy to do anti-air practice, and just work through that. Especially against a Guile that's doing this to you, right? Like Guile in this case has burned you out. They know they can kind of pressure you, so they're just jumping at you. They're throwing buttons at you. They're being super aggressive, and you just kind of have to hold a lot of it. But if you're able to anti-air these jump-ins, at least you get a little reprieve, right? So you'll be able to anti-air, you knock them down, you gain a little meter back, right? And you'll have a chance to get back into the fight because your meter will come back. Now, if I had to guess, your meter is probably going to come back by before this is done. Oh, it's definitely coming back now. All right, good parry. So now the Guile's baiting you into spin knuckling, right? Or at least he's trying to. So here,
I think I almost had the spacing right. I was barely probably like, I don't know, it's a pixel away from the standing heavy kick, but because I walked forward too, I also got clipped.
Yeah, right here. Actually, you're backing up, right? And
Uh,
Guile's crouching medium kick is kind of absurd, right? It goes kind of far. Now he doesn't get anything off of this other than poking you, but like the situation I was talking about earlier is that he gains space, right? I know it's very very little, but every bit for Guile counts, right? He wants to put you back as far as you can. He wants to continue pushing you back, or at least making you consider backing up, so that he has space to throw sonic booms, right, and use these buttons to keep you out, right? So, yeah, so he doesn't do anything after because this is Guile, right? He's just gonna he did that to make you back up, and now he's like, okay, well I can try to bait their spin knuckle or I can throw sonic boom, right? Does Alexa do nothing? And then you get anti-aired, right, from the flash kick. So again, it's a Guile is kind of tough where you have to play around Sonic Boom and then try to, at least this level, you're trying to whiff punish like his buttons as you walk up and he presses them, right? So like if you look at what Guile was doing there, as you walked close to him, he decided to press a button, right? He wasn't really throwing booms at the end, and I can't really explain why, but he kind of just waited for you to get close and then he would press a button, right? And if you can kind of take advantage of players that do that by kind of walking in and out of that range and then pressing your button, right? Like you can walk into and out of the crouch medium kick range and then press your stand medium kick or stand heavy kick, right? Because it'll they'll whiff in that case, right? And then you'll be able to punish it, right? It's kind of a higher level thing. Only bringing this up now is because this particular Guile is not like going unga bunga necessarily, right? As soon as you got your meter back, they started playing defensively again, right? So,
okay.
like, in order for you to get around that, like you have to be able to play this kind of fundamental grounded game, because Guile will eat you up if you try to do any shenanigans, right? So you try to dive kick, he just flash kicks you, right? If you try to spin knuckle, he'll check it with like a jab or something, and then if you try to hooligan, he'll just flash kick, right? Like there's no thought process necessarily on his part other than reacting to that, because look, he's spending all of his time charging, right? Like, how are you
Yeah.
supposed to do anything against this? So, so I think at this point the guy's figured out like you don't really want to play that neutral game, so he's just kind of waiting, right? Like he's just gonna not do too much, maybe get some space to throw booms, right? So, all right, so he's just keeping you out. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I
Gotcha.
mashed it a little bit too a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie. I think that's where I panicked because I used a standing heavy kick right at point blank, which I know I really shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically wrong.
Mm-hmm. And that happened, right? I mean, there are times where you press the button and they just walk forward and block, and it's like, oh, I was spaced correctly until they moved. That happens. It's not a big deal. But this was good. So you caught him trying to crouch medium kick you. And this is a situation where if you look at what happened, so you got hit, right? Again, God doesn't really get anything off of this other than some space, right? I think he actually might get something on the punish counter here, but he has to be the right spacing. Anyway, so that happens. Right, you back, and then you just press again, right? Because he tries to walk forward and press, and your button was earlier, and it beats him, right? So if you thought he was gonna walk forward and you pressed on that, that's good recognition. And I think like you pressing that situation is it's totally fine, right? I don't have an issue with that at this level, right? Hooligan again, yep, into the low, so that's good, right? You hit him high earlier, now you hit him low. All right, so he tries to flash kick. It looks like, or he was doing something. I don't know. What did he try to do? Because there was a reversal there, right? So what did he try to do?
Oh,
So that's the back tech. I don't know what input this is. EX Sonic Boom? I don't know what this is.
I
Super
guess
maybe?
probably.
Might have been super. But they pressed two buttons here. So I don't know. I'm not sure what this is. But they reversaled and he did this kind of meaty low or whatever. Good. And then there's the DI, right? They weren't ready for it. So you see, I think they may have tried to press it there just to come out, whatever. Okay. And then what do you do from here, right? Another DI. You DI third time? Didn't work third time, huh?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think that's where I got a little spam to spam happening
Yeah,
there.
once is good, twice is funny, but the third time they were going to be ready for it, right? I think they might have been trying to level one the whole time because they looked like they might have been trying to level one that first interaction, and they weren't ready for the DI. But they're definitely looking for it probably the second or third time. So vary that up a little bit. We can talk more about like Cammy setups and stuff after, but anyway, we can. Anyway, just when you have corner pressure like that, maybe I could talk about this here. Is that something that I think a lot of platinum level players do is they overextend in the corner, right? And what I mean by that is that like you've established the corner control, right? So you landed a hit here, right? So all the way back here, right? You landed a hit. I think I might have gone too far, right? Right there, right? So you land a hit. Hooligan, you get a mix up here mid screen. You land it, right? So now you've firmly established that you control the corner, right? So from here, you can do one of two things. You can continue your pressure, right? Which you do, right? And it works because the guile is pressing something, right? Or you can back off, right? You can, back up a little bit and try to control guile in the corner, right? Instead, what you do is you do something that's pretty common. You overextend, right? So by overextending, I mean you continue like applying pressure, and the guile player eventually will reversal, right? Like it happened to you when we were playing. Eventually, you're like, okay, I'm tired of getting hit. I'm gonna reversal here, or they just block it out, and they're able to get out of the corner, right? So this situation here, right? You have him in the corner, right? Land a mix up, get him with a meaty low, right? Get this. So in this situation here, right? Consider not continuing your offense and kind of backing up a little bit, right? Now, obviously it works here because the guile doesn't do anything, right? So if you look, you DI, then the guile wasn't ready for it, right? Like if you look at his inputs, I'm not sure what they're trying to do here, but they're not doing DI, right? Like DI would be, if you see it, it'd be these buttons here, right? Like this right here, right? Uh-huh. So they're doing something, but it's not DI, right? So this is fine. Now from here, you can consider picking a pause in your offense, right? And what I mean by that is that like you can consider backing off a little bit and then playing neutral against guile in this position here, right? Or in your opponent in general, right? Because when we were playing and I had you in the corner, there are situations where I just backed off, right? And then if you think about what was going through your head at that point, like, oh, Juzzy backed off, what do I do next, right? What am I supposed to do, right? As the cornered player, they're going to feel pressure that they have to do something, right? They have to press a button, they have to jump, they have to get out of the corner somehow, right? So you as the player who owns the corner, like you have corner control, you can now play in a way that allows you to take advantage of that, right? Because I think in Platinum, like here, I'm willing to bet that in your head right here, you're like, I'm going to win this game right now, right? I'm going to pour on the offense. I'm going to do as many meaty DIs and meaty buttons as I can to win this game right here, right now, right? And eventually the guile ends up level 1-ing you, right? Like you go for it here, right? And then you look at the situation here, right? Same situation we talked about, like when we were playing, right? It's like, oh, they're going to reversal, right? So instead you kind of go for another DI and then it gets caught by the level 1 here, right? And I think like you did a pretty good job of maintaining pressure there with the DIs, right? And it worked. But I would consider if the situation allows you to back off and not overextend here, consider it, right? Because if you think about, and I'm not sure how the rest of this game is going to go. You might win, I don't know. But if you think about what happens if the guile has this much life in the corner, they don't have any more super. Well, they would have super in that situation, right? Because you back off, they don't do it. Or potentially, if you're backing off and they super there, you'd block it and win the game from there, right? But the what I'm trying to talk about here is that like if you have them in the corner in this situation, right, you knock them down after the DI, hit the DP, whatever, and you start backing away to give them space back, or not space back, but like to create space for yourself. It's more likely they're going to do something that allows you to win the game, right? They'll probably make a mistake that allows you to win the game. Like maybe they press a button that was poorly spaced because they can't move anymore. Maybe they jump and you DP it. Maybe they do something aggressive like a drive rush cancel that you can check or react to, right? But the idea is that in this situation here, you have so much life, right? And you have a ton of meter right? Because if you didn't DI there, you'd have 2 bars. Basically, you're trying to put yourself in a position where it's more likely you will win. Right? Obviously, comebacks happen, and people go crazy, and they're able to guess correctly 3 or 4 times to beat you. But like, if you're on the other side of this, right? Like, this is very hard to win from, right? Like,
Yeah.
I have a bar and a half. I'm 1 or 2 straight hits away from dying. I have no super, right? So it's difficult to win. Now, I don't know what ends up happening. Let's watch. But like, I feel like you would have had a much better chance of winning.
I think I got too aggressive there.
Yeah, right here.
Like you
right?
said, I overextended.
Yeah, you could back up here, and you'd probably end up winning the game, right? Because Guile has to do something, right? You have the life total. If Guile does nothing, right, you're going to lose to the timer, right? So Guile's going to have to do something, and at that point, you can kind of take advantage of their kind of antsiness to do something, right? DP the jump, maybe check something, maybe try to poke at them with buttons, make them make a mistake, right? So, said you overextend, and I don't blame that, because again, I'm willing to bet in your head, you're like, I'm going to win this game right here, right? I'm behind, I'm going to win, right? And that's a tough mindset to have, because Guile especially can just turn that around on you, right? You get aggressive, he starts booming you and flash kicking you, and then all of a sudden, like, you lose, right? So, right, so backing off here, I don't mind. Ooh. Okay, so it worked out, right? You're able to win. But that was scary for a second, though, right? Like, there was 2 situations where if Guile was able to confirm on some of those things, you'd probably be in the corner fighting for your life, right? But
I probably could have I probably could have anti-aired in like 2 of those situations as well. So
yeah,
I think about it.
yeah. But if you had backed off, right, and you're kind of looking for that now, the DP becomes infinitely easier, right? You're not reacting like raw anymore, right? You're like, oh, I'm looking for a jump now, and then I can just DP, right? I don't have to think too hard or like have some sort of raw reaction where I'm trying to account for all these situations, right? Like if you had backed off and it's like, oh, I just have to look for a DP or look for a button I'm gonna stay out of their range and not allow them to press buttons, and I'm just gonna parry sonic booms, right? Maybe try to get close to bait them into something, but the idea would be that you're trying to increase your chances of winning by not putting yourself in a position to lose, if that makes sense, right? Because in that situation, previous round, right, you got supered, right? And then if Guile decided to just start throwing sonic booms, try to walk you down to the corner by doing that, it would have been kind of hard to deal with, right? Potentially. And they actually had a couple of chances where they had hit you, or at least had a chance to kind of extend a little bit and all that. So, basically, the way the volatility is in this game, you kind of want to reduce that risk, is what I'm trying to say. And especially in like Platinum, the high risk, high reward playstyle reigns supreme, right? Like the Unga Bunga, this guy's like Guile drive rushing you, pressing all these buttons, throwing all these booms, and then when it hits, they do some crazy 5k damage combo. Like that is a problem in Platinum right now, right? Like I'm sure you run into players like that all the time. So you got to be a little bit wary of that happening. Yep, SDP.
Yeah, I could DP right there too.
Yeah, and it's
That's
fine.
where
Yeah.
I actually abused, because I know I'm usually plus on block after a heavy knuckle, but the thing is like if I spammed the standing jab way too much, and that's where I got the perfect parry.
Yeah. So because it's almost auto timed, right? Because right, because you -3 or +3, right? And then you can just press parry, right? And then you get perfect parried. So, yeah, if you're going to use spin knuckle like that, your +3 situation, consider walking forward and throwing them every once in a while, just to mix that up. So,
Yeah, because when I try that a few times, I actually get jabbed in the face too. So
yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing, right? So when you're in that situation, or rather the opponent's in that situation, they're -3. Typically, you shouldn't be jabbing, right? Because you're going to get trapped by Cammy pressing their stand light kick or stand light punch, right? Like if Guile jabs there instead of parries, you're gonna counter hit them into like stand light punch, stand light kick, medium air or something, right? Like you would confirm into a combo of some kind. So typically you can't press when you're minus there. So that's why the walk up throw could work, because they're not supposed to be pressing there. But if they're mashing against you there, then the response to that would be for you to keep your offense airtight there, right? So you would do the jab to counter hit them trying to press, right? And then you would go from there, right? So anyway, just something to think about if you're landing spin knuckles in neutral a lot and you're getting hit as you're trying to walk up throw. Switch back to just pressing more buttons, right? if they in this situation, if they had parried and you threw them, right, you got a punish counter parry, right, or punish counter throw on the parry, right. So it is a mix up. You have to guess, they have to guess, right. It's just that when you see certain options from your opponent, you have to try to consider running the counter to that option, right, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, because normally the only time I ever really do a spinning knuckles when I see a fireball coming. Otherwise, I really don't do it in neutral that often.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think with Cammy especially is that you read a fireball, the fireball doesn't come out, but they don't check it, right? So you get it on block, right? And that's when you kind of have to consider that mix-up situation. But yeah, I mean, if you're just doing it trying, because you do have to kind of have a read on the fireball to do it, right? Otherwise, it's difficult to like do it on reaction. So anyway, consider that, right? When you get a +2 situation like that, if they're beating your jab consistently, consider walk up throw. And if your throw is getting jabbed, consider going back to jabbing, right?
All right.
All right, 0. You try to press, or what did you do?
I think I tried to press probably.
All right, so it's 0. Why'd you get hit? Okay, you try to challenge. So Cammy's crouching light kick is 5 frames, right? I think. Okay, so 0 situations, right? Like this. So this is probably going to come up more often than not, generally speaking. Is you're going to run in a situation where neither of you has frame advantage, like standing next to each other, right? Maybe not off a drive rush necessarily like this, but like there may be times where you're both kind of just standing there, right? Typically, you want to press your faster button, like fastest button, right? So 4 framer here. Now, I know you do a low light here because it might catch them walking back, and you can confirm that into a combo, right? So if you catch them walking back with a crouching light kick, you would do like crouching light punch and to stand light kick into medium arrow, right? You would get a confirm off that. But it's a little risky, right? Because the opponent is 0 also, since they don't have an advantage or disadvantage. If they press their 4 frame, it's going to stuff it, right? So it's a bit of a gamble to go for a low here, but the safe option would be for you to go into the 4 frame, right? What will happen is it'll trade, right? So you would trade here, and then the characters would kind of, like, some space would get created, right? And there's not really a trade combo to be had from that situation because neither of you are going to be plus enough, right? So I think going for a 4 framer there or blocking is ideal. Going for a 5 framer there is risky, right? So especially against a guy that's shown that they're willing to just press, right? So defensive situations like that, you just have to be careful about when you want to press buttons, right? So again, I don't hate the decision to go crouching light kick here. I just think it's risky, right? Because this Guile has just been kind of mauling you, right? Just like walking in, drive rushing in, right? Pressing buttons. So defensive decision wise, right? Consider doing less risky options, right? Or, like I don't think stand like or crouching light kick is like a super risky option, but like again, like the spacing here means that you got to press something faster, right? Ooh, what happened there? Ooh, how'd you get hit? Were you pressing something?
I also pressed the button. Yeah, I think I was pressing something there. Probably I tried to jab it there too.
Alright, so wake up here, wake up, they hit you with a jab. So they're minus here. -2.
Yeah, I tried to jab there too. I think you can see from my button input from the.
Yeah, there's no counter hit, right? Okay. You try to jab, maybe you weren't blocking, right? I guess that's what it is. I think like for Cammy, since she doesn't have any command overlap with like the light buttons, you can just continue holding block here, right? If you want to stand light punch come out, just hold block, right? If it doesn't come out, like what happened here, for some reason it didn't come out, at least you'd be blocking, right? When you let go of back, it you stop blocking, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, as soon as you got hit, you held block again, right, and they dropped the combo. But yeah, you don't have to let go of back to press the button here. unless you're gonna do like a drive rush or something. But drive rushing off lights isn't always the best thing to do, especially a single light. So you can hold block during that. Right? I also notice you don't tech a lot, right? You don't really delay tech or use any defensive option selects there, right? So is that just something you don't do, or not
or
aware of? Or?
I actually just don't know how to practice that, honestly.
Oh, okay, we can talk about that too. That's pretty easy to lab out. So, all right. So dealing with that, did an anti-air, unfortunately, right? Plus frames get thrown. Right, Gal's being super aggressive here, and then you get reversaled, right? All right, so let's take a look at the whole situation, right? You got cornered, and then it was very difficult for you to get out of it, right? That's really kind of the end all be all of it, right? And you see what happened here was that the guy was being super aggressive, and you could have or should have reversaled sooner, I guess. Was what I'll get at, right? Don't wait until the last interaction to reversal, right? If you're gonna do it sooner rather than later, especially because the Guile has been aggressive this round, right? So, and really throwing booms. Hits you one parry, right? Okay, now you're very close to the corner. Use Sonic Boom, and then they throw another boom to cover their approach. Zero situation here to get hit. Throw, right? Right, so I would potentially reversal like there, right? Like go for the super or the ODDP. Basically after the second or third, maybe even the first interaction, right? And the reason I would say that, like me as a player, is because the Guile has been super aggressive, right? Like they're probably going to continue their offense, and this is an opportunity for you to take back your space and your game by reversaling them, getting them off you, right? So consider reversaling more in a situation where you're getting kind of mauled like this, right? So you're stuck in the corner. Consider it more, right? I mean, obviously you have to weigh it out, and I don't want to say do it all the time, but you have to use your defensive options once in a while, right? You have to choose, like, it exists for a reason for you to use it, so choose it every once in a while, right? If you think the Guile's going to continue their pressure, like, definitely go for it, especially after this drive rush. Well, he got hit, so he can't really do anything there, but if you had been mashing reversal here, as soon as the Guile dropped the combo here, you could have DP'd them, right? So consider it. Right, and then no anti-air here is very difficult to anti-air that. And then no tech from you here, so it's okay. We'll talk about delay tech in a second. Get hit. Right, and then they dash up at you in your face, right? From right here. Probably because they were trying to beat a throw. So this is kind of a meta thing, if you will. So like from here, they hit you, and they're actually expecting you to delay tech. Right? So the dash is throw invulnerable, right? So you can't throw this. So they're actually expecting you to delay tech here, and they're going to blow you up for it, right? But you don't delay tech, you continue blocking, so then they just throw you, right? So and then reversal happens and you kind of die from here, right? Okay, so kind of a lot to talk about, I think, but I think the main things to take away, if you kind of look at like how to get out of platinum, some of it is just stopping volatility from other players, right? So this was not quite a match where it was like a typical ranked match for you, because this person was Diamond 5, right? So they're kind of on the verge of Master. They are probably, playing a little different game than you're probably seeing in ranked right now. But I would bet that, like you said, a lot of players in Platinum 5 to Diamond 1, Diamond 2 are playing this kind of like Unga Bunga playstyle, right? They're going all out. They are drive rushing you, they're dragon lashing you, they're Blanca balling you, right? Ryu's are jumping at you, all that. So I would say that some of what you have to learn is how to stop those neutral skips, right? Because like once you stop them from doing that, they have to do something else or they die, right? And then what'll happen is they'll probably be uncomfortable with what's happening, right? The second thing is I think you may need to consider some additional defensive options in the corner. So I noticed that when we were playing our game, and I think like in this game too, is that once you kind of got cornered, it was difficult for you to get out of that situation, right? Like you were kind of just holding back and hoping they would back off, and if they don't, you get thrown, you get hit like on block and stuff, and then like it's difficult to manage that situation, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the training room and I'll show you how to set this up so you can practice it. So there's two things that I kind of maybe just one thing we can talk about, which would be delay teching, right? So this option is an option. It's an option. So you're familiar with option selects, right? And how that
Yeah,
works.
I'm familiar with it
Okay,
a
cool.
little bit.
So basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to defend against the meaty strike and meaty throw, right? So if I take Ken here, oh, why is it Guile? Okay. So I'm gonna do, I think something basic, right? All right. Cool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up a situation where it's a meaty throw, right? So this should be pretty straightforward. All I'm gonna do is gonna knock them down, right, and then jab them as they're getting up, right? Right. To make this even more real, I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do an actual setup, right? So, oh man, right? Double dash should be +5, right? Right. So basically, what this is setting up is that Ken is gonna do a one of two things, right? He's either gonna do a meaty strike or a meaty throw. So let me record that. Actually, I need to change this. Okay, so that's one, right? So that's the meaty throw, right? So now we'll do a meaty strike. Right. So what's going to happen, right, is that if Ken does the meaty, like in either situation, right, if I try to mash like my crouching light punch, it's going to lose to either of these things, right? So let's take a look. So let's do the meaty throw first. Hopefully I did this right. Right. So if you look at my inputs on the left here, like I was trying to mash my jab, and then Ken was able to just throw me counter hit, right? So same thing here. Come on, Ken. Right. So what that means is that, you know, that was a meaty strike, meaty throw, right? So I can't mash against that necessarily, right? If I do an instant tech, so if I tech on wake up, if he jabs me, right, instead of like if he throws, then it'll break the throw. But if he jabs me, it's gonna counter hit me, right? So if I do this again, right, and I mash throw, right, I get hit, right? So and obviously if I do it on the throw, he's gonna tech, right? So the idea here is that you want to do something, you want to do the delay tech, right? So basically what this is you're just delaying your block, holding down back, you're blocking, and you're delaying the tech by about 5 frames, right? So like I know I say that 5 frames and it's like, oh, what does that really mean? You just pause for a second, right? The way I like to think about it is I would press the tech when I think the jab is going to hit me, right? So like if I pretend like Ken's going to jab me after I wake up, I would press the delay tech when I think that's going to hit me, right? And that should be about the right timing, right? So about 5 to 7-ish frames after, right? So if I do that, right, and I look at the, we'll start with this one. This is the meaty jab. Right? So you saw my input there was I just hit this input here at about 5 to 7 frames delay after I wake up, and that stopped me from getting hit there, right? And the same thing, if I do this here, right? So you see how like there was a split second where they hold each other, right? And then it would normally, you know, I missed it there, but that's what would happen, right? So you tech, right? Right. So, and you can make sure that that's real if I were to do it the other way and I set the Ken up like the dummy to do a throw tech 5 frames after wake up, you'll see that it's real. But this is the common defensive option to use in the corner when you're trying to prevent like your opponent from being able to continue their pressure, right? So like if they're constantly striking you or throwing you, right? Consider using this option to try to stop that from happening, right? So if they go for a throw, you'll tech it, right? And then you'll get some space back. Like if you look how much space there is, right? It's almost 3/4 screen, right? How far back Ken gets sent, right? So then that kind of ends their offensive pressure. Alternatively, if they do the jabs or they do some sort of media option here, right? You block it, and a little space comes back, right? Potentially, but at least you're not going to get hit anymore, right? And you have a chance to play neutral again. So I would consider adding that defensive option to your kind of repertoire of things to do when you're in the corner, right?
All right.
Again, you have to be careful because you can get shimmied, right? But that's kind of the risk you're taking when you delay tech, right? Because if you're not doing anything and you're just kind of blocking at Platinum 5, Diamond 1, Diamond 2, you're getting run over, right? Like if you look at, I think our game 2, I was very passive on defense and you just ran me over, right? Like you were able to run an offense that knocked me down, ran me to the corner, and then like you just DI'd and did those options and killed me, right? So if I had been doing more defensive options, potentially I could stop some of that happening, right? But the overall idea though is that like if you're getting kind of hit in the corner, you want to try to stop their offensive pressure and get back to neutral, right? And I think delay tech is something you should probably add to that. Now, again, don't select it every time. Like, don't default to doing that potentially if you're in the corner, especially. Like, I think blocking is just fine too. But if you're seeing your opponent constantly go for meaty options, right? They're meaty buttons or meaty throw. Doing a delay tech can stop that, right? And you saw me do that to you actually, right? So like when we were playing, there's situations where you landed like a drive rush, crouching media kick drive rush, and it was blocked, right? And then you just went for throw every time, right? And I just delay teched, right? And every time
Yeah.
you tried to throw, it got teched somehow, right? So that's all I was doing was I was assuming that you're just gonna go for immediate option and just delay teching, right? Yeah, I'm trying to think what else I can tell you that would help right away. And I think those would be the biggest two things because the space stuff may not make a difference for you at the platinum level necessarily just yet, other than trying to pay attention to your space, right? So like how far Cammy's buttons go and be willing to press them when someone walks into that range, right? So you did a pretty good job of that in the games we played as well as that game against the Guile where he walked up and you pressed country medium kick. So I think that's totally fine. I would also consider using those bigger buttons more in neutral to try to, create, gain space, right? So you're just trying to push me back a little bit. And something for you to do in neutral that doesn't involve a drive rush cancel, right? That's kind of the thing. So I feel like right now it's like for you in neutral, the option is either dive kick, hooligan, or not hooligan, sorry, dive kick, spin knuckle, or crouch medium kick drive rush, right? And
Yeah, that seems to be what I've been
yeah.
doing a lot. But I think my main issue is also like I think I got the spacing of standing heavy kick wrong
Mm-hmm.
pretty much a lot at a time because I think most of the time I've used it a lot. Like against like a Marissa, for example, they always try to do a gladius at me, so I
Mm-hmm.
just punish with the standing heavy kick right there. Or sometimes if I'm they're like a little too close, I've learned that they're weak below their rate, weak
Mm-hmm.
around their ankles when they do that too. So
Yeah, you can
they
tag them
look
with a
like that
low. Yeah, yeah.
low when they're doing gladius.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, there's some things to work on, I think. But the main things, if I had to try to put top 2 or 3 things, I think that corner defense or defense in general, you can probably do a little bit better there by incorporating some option selects. Mostly delay tech, I think, is probably what you would need at this level. You just got to be wary that if your opponent does start shimmying you, that you need to not delay tech all the time. But if your opponent is only going for meaty options, then that's an option for you to do, right? It's safer, slightly safer than doing like a reversal. Because reversal, if you do it and it's blocked, I guess it's not great for you. But at least you'd be able to stop someone constantly throwing you and be able to defend against pressure. Right? You're blocking 2 options with one thing, right? Second, again, the space thing. So as people walk into that space, be willing to press buttons, right? And the correlate to that is to be careful with your drive rush, with your bar, right? So don't always go for a crouch medium kick drive rush. Be willing to just kind of accept that you pressed a non-cancelable button, got some damage and some space, and be okay with that, right? Not everything has to be a drive rush cancel, right?
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then if I had to add a third thing or a last thing would be probably anti-airs, right? So be willing to be, have to drill that, work through getting the DP down, make sure you can always do it, right? Or at least be able to anti-air with something, right? Maybe it's a back heavy kick or whatever other button Cammy has, like the back medium punch is kind of awkward to use. But she does have one of the best DPs in the game, right? So be willing to use that. So
And normally I usually anti-air with a back heavy kick, so I've gotten so used to that. But at the
yeah,
same time, like I'm coming back from a long hiatus, so I'm trying to remember like what the hell do I even do in neutral? What do my buttons do?
yeah. So
You
I
might
think
get
it's
over
fine.
this expression
If it's
because the
working and you're
majority
able to
right
anti-air with it, it's fine. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
because the majority of the you saw what I did was also like the same wall I had to deal with in Pat 1, and I actually got over that to about around Pat 5. So now they're kind of coming back again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So, let's see here. You got time for another first to three, or I know it's a little late, but
I'm sure I'll try another one, but then
okay.
also I think afterwards I might need like a written text form or something to
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. I can. I'll post this up to YouTube after, and then I can put a summary together for you if you're interested in that. Just for a
Yeah,
couple of
that would
things,
actually.
but yeah. Let me
I,
create a room here.
all right, hang on, I just gotta log back on again.
What was that? Sorry.
I just gotta log back on again.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like that was a lot of information to take in, so I didn't know if I could remember all that
Oh
in
yeah,
one
no, for
thing.
sure. It's gonna be a lot. And again, I don't expect you to remember everything. That's why I stream it and record it and all that. You can always rewatch it. And yeah, if you want like a written thing, I could put something together real quick. So it's probably tomorrow. It's kind of late now, but
Oh yeah, that would actually help me out a lot too, because
okay.
I always do that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think really again, it just kind of boils down to at least at your level right now. Just a couple of situations where you want to defend a little bit better. I think that's probably where you may be losing more games, as if you get stuck in the corner. Like, how do you get out of it? And yeah, otherwise, like you play your offense is totally fine. I don't see any real like problems with it in particular, right? Obviously, it'll probably grow and get better as you get better, right? Add more things to mix up and all that. Add more mix-ups and more setups and stuff, and that's just lab work, really. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, I think you're doing fine. So, anyway, so yeah, let's run this set real quick. So remember, just if you get stuck in the corner, you can utilize delay tech more. And if you see me walking up to you, just try to hit me with your stand medium kick or stand. Oh man.
Oh, whoops! I forgot to press
Oh no
ready.
worries. I was like, oh man,
Alright.
CFN's killing me today. But yeah, just be willing to, if I'm walking into your range, just be willing to press the button, right? Be
All
willing to
right.
press stand medium kick or stand heavy kick if I'm in range of that. So. Nice. Nice. There you go.
Oops. There, they did it again.
You almost had the DP. Nice. Oh.
Oops. Oops.
Oh. Whiff
Oh,
punish
I
here.
got
Yeah.
the spacing wrong.
Yeah, a little bit too far. Got whiff punish. That's okay. I don't expect you to like have immaculate spacing after one thing, but that was nice.
Oh god, they did it again.
Nice.
Oops. I tried to do the
No dive kick.
I tried to. I panicked a bit.
Nice.
Oops. I did it again.
Yeah, it's a difficult habit to break, right? Because it's probably been working for you. But yeah, you just have to be wary of the option where you try to walk up throw, and if you whiff it, like that's what's gonna happen, right? So Be willing to press the button instead of throw, right? Be okay with just kind of poking and forcing me to block, right? That's really what it kind of comes to. Nice.
Oops.
Nice.
Oops.
Ooh. Nice. Nice. Oh, he tried to delay tech there, I think, and it wasn't quite wasn't
I
quite
think
late
I
enough.
tried to.
Yeah, see that was actually pretty good. I mean, I shimmied you there, but
Oops.
nice. Oh.
Oops. Oops. Oh,
Yeah,
the
the whiff punisher, and it's tough. That's actually very tough, right? Because you're in the corner, you can't really control space anymore. So if you press there, right? Nice.
Oops.
Nice.
Whew.
Oh, I whiffed.
Oops.
Nice. It
Oh
whiffed.
god.
I'm so mad.
Oh, that was so scary.
That's funny. But yeah, I like what you were doing in the corner there. I think that was a little bit more reserved, a little bit. I was kind of hoping you wouldn't DI, and you didn't, so that was good.
Yeah, I'm trying hard to remember, like, not do that too much, not get too aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, use it every once in a while, right? But try not to use it too much. Nice.
Oops.
Nice.
Oops. Whew.
You gotta be careful the walk up throw there, right? If you choose it a little too often, right, then that's what happens. Nice.
Oops.
Nice. Nice. Oh, I'm dead.
Oops.
Nice.
Whew.
Nice, nice, nice.
Ah, I got this wrong.
Nice. Ooh. Oh, it could have killed me there.
Oh, I could have.
Oh, I'm dead now. Nice. So, I mean, you can see how much different it is when you're not really overextending the corner, and you're like trying to press buttons when I walk into your space, right? So you can see how much different that your game plan is, or at least how much different the result is, right? If I'm not adjusting for what you're doing there, right? So, pretty good stuff. Good stuff.
I think I'm doing a little bit better. I don't know. I can't tell at the time.
Nice. Uh
Oops.
oh. Well, that was his late tech. I saw that, right? Unfortunately, does lose a neutral jump, but that's not a bad decision to make. I think. Oh, nice. Nice.
Oops.
Nice. So, right there, you can see kind of the pitfall of a delay tech, right? Is that you get shimmied, but I think I have to start shimmying in response to your delay tech, right? So that's what
All
you
right.
want out of that, right? So it makes a lot of sense, right? But I'm hoping this is kind of showcasing like when you can use delay tech, right? If my pressure is like super meaty, right, or super meaty focused. Nope.
Oops. I forgot I had no
No.
time.
Yeah, that time was
I
just
think the nerds
me.
are getting.
Yeah, that time was just me kind of reading when you wanted to press there, and that is what it is. But nice TP.
Oopsie.
There you go. Oh,
Ah. I think the nerves are getting to me now.
and it's fine. I mean, we're obviously, I'm trying to set up situations so you can practice what we're talking about. But I think if you look at the situations overall, you did a lot better, right? You were dealing with neutral a little bit better, and you're dealing with corner pressure a little better, right? So like the pressure I was applying when in this set was probably a little more indicative of what I think you'll see more of in like platinum to diamond ranges, right? A lot of meaty throws, meaty strikes, right? The setups that exist for that are going to be allowing them to do that, right? So you can't mash out of them necessarily. So that's why delay tech becomes really good there, right? And then again, you did a pretty good job in neutral, right? I was trying to just kind of walk into your space and see how you would react to that, and you did a pretty good job of keeping me out, right? And you were able to convert those into some combos, right? I do think that the next step for you is honestly, there's a couple of things, but one something that I didn't really talk about this is that you can definitely start labbing more setups off of conversions, right? So you land a crouch communicate drive rush, come up with or look at like setups from there, right? Something I didn't notice you were something I noticed that you weren't doing necessarily. This is kind of an addendum. I'll write this out for you, and we didn't really talk about it as much during the actual replay review and all that. But you don't go for a lot of like of Cammy's kind of meaty strike throw setups, right? Most of the time when you landed a hit, you went for the target combo, right, into Hooligan, right? And I think that she does have some additional setups that involve just dashing and some other things that aren't necessarily a high low mix, but instead they're more like a strike throw mix, right? So I think you're in Fight Rise. So talk to like Shogberg and some other high level Cammy players there, and ask them about some of Cammy's setups. Right, there's a document that's floating around, written by a guy named Knots. And I think he's in Fight Rise
Oh yeah,
also.
oh yeah.
Um,
I've seen his
yeah,
document. It's
like the
actually
most.
pretty good.
I think he calls it the most useless Cammy document ever, but it's actually the most useful one. It's what I used personally when I took Cammy to master. Right, so going through that document and learning. And you said you're like a text-based learner, like you like seeing it kind of written out for you. I think
Yeah,
that document's going to help a ton, right? Because he actually has a bunch of drills and other stuff that you can do as Cammy to help kind of hone those reactions and skills. Again, I think your offense is good. It can be way better though if you were to learn some of those setups and start using them, right? Because I was able to defend it because I just kind of guessed that you would only do kind of one or two things. But as soon as you start varying that, I think your win rate's going to go up, right? Especially again, as I know it's a lot to incorporate, and kind of just take it, one thing at a time. Like add more of the combo stuff or add more of the defensive situation option selects that we talked about, right? Doing that, and then like the neutral stuff, like you can kind of put that like off a little bit. I think you do a good enough job in neutral for where you're at to be able to get through most games, right? Again, if you're playing like the Masters at Fright Rise or like some high level guys in your BLKO pool, like if they're starting to be like into like Diamond, it's gonna be a little tough. But if you jump into ranked right now with where you're at right now, I think the spacing you don't necessarily need to have like immaculate spacing the same way, right? You can probably get away with it being a little bit loose, right? As long as you're willing to press buttons when they walk up to you, I think you'd be okay, right?
all
Yeah,
right.
cool, man. And then anti-airing, obviously, right? It'd be the last thing, but don't worry about that. But yeah, take a look at that Cammy document. And yeah, if you have any other questions, let me know. And if there's anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up.
Yeah, honestly, like I said, there's just a lot to take in. But I
Mm-hmm.
know, like I think my defense is beginning a slightly bit better in the second set. First
Yeah,
set,
no, 100%. Yeah, I was running more of like a meaty strike throw options on you, right? And you were able to defend that, right? In the first set, when I was doing the same offense, you were getting hit by a lot, right? So you get thrown a lot, then you get hit low a lot, right? But instead, you were able to defend those, right? And there were some times where you kind of missed the delay tech as a little early or whatever, but you were practicing it for the first time, and I'm actually really impressed at how often you were able to get it, right? So, you know. But yeah, you did a lot better the second set after you started incorporating some of the stuff we talked about, not everything obviously, but you tried some things and it worked, right? You was able to stop what I was doing, so that's good. Cool, man. Yeah. Otherwise, you can hang out. I'm just gonna do the outro real quick if you have nothing else.
I think that's about it for now. Like
Cool,
I
man.
said, I just need something written down just to remember
Yeah, yeah.
everything.
I'll put
Because
something together for you, and then I'll post it to I'll DM you it or something. So. Otherwise, let's do the outro real quick, and then yeah. But thanks for finding the time, and I'm glad you're able to do it. So,
all right,
um,
thanks so much.
yeah. So this has been a sit down and shut up with Jesse. Again, another bit of a longer one, but and I think it's starting to get that way just because there's a lot to talk about. And we did a little different today, where we looked at a different replay that wasn't ours after we talked about some stuff. So anyway, this has been Sit Down Shut Up. If you like this content, you can take a look at my YouTube channel, right? I have other training sessions that I run and some other tips and stuff like that. This is being run through the Fight Rise community. So Fight Rise is a fighting game Discord. They run bi-weekly tournaments through their One Fight Stand series, right? It's a Swiss tournament for masters and above, and a round robin tournament for those below master. It's a good time. You get some tournament sets and all that, so it's you get to play with some of the folks. They also do community showcases through their Urge to Fight series. So they do charity streams and other events where they showcase folks from the community running various things. I was on it in December for their base brawl setup, where there was a charity stream where they raised money for the Radiant Foundation. So do a lot of good work there. But yeah, links below. If you want to join the Fight Rise Discord, there's a link for the Fight Rise Discord down below. You can join that. And if you want to get sets with me or anyone else in the community, and if you want to sign up for a training session, join the Discord. Look under training. I think it's training questions or training requests. There'll be a thread called Sit Down and Shut Up, and you can take a look at that, put your name down, and then you get in the queue. I'm also part of the Newbie Fight Club. So the Newbie Fight Club is another fighting game community focused on helping newer players get accustomed to playing fighting games. Again, most of these two are mostly Street Fighter focused, so they play other games. If you're looking for casual lobby nights, they run one every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I think they run one for EU as well on Thursdays, and they have impromptu rooms and sets and games you can get throughout the day. So join those Discords again. Links in the in below here. If you're watching this on YouTube, it should be a link somewhere down there. But yeah. Otherwise, yeah, that's it for tonight. I don't have anything else. So thanks to you all for watching. And for everyone that tuned in, thank you so much. I know I don't really interact with chat during these because I'm talking to. Well, my heart rate is like 160. I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, I know I don't interact with chat too much, so thank you all for the follows and for watching and tuning in when you did. Appreciate it. And yeah, otherwise, have a good night. Thanks.